the agenda first?
Sorry, yes, thank you. Mr. Keeper, my motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Alderman
I'll second
Walters, seconded by Alderman Rick Arnold. Roll call.
Alderman Rick Arnold.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Jeffers.
Yes.
Marcus.
Yes.
Shackelford.
Yes.
Minkus.
Yes.
Wendy Arnold. Yes.
So moved. Now, Mrs. Kinnon.
I'm here to speak about the street annexation proposal tonight. Why would you even consider annexing more streets when the streets that we have already in Pevely that the city is responsible for, those have not been taken care of? We've got Joachim Street down here that's only 2 blocks long and it needs to be replaced. Once in a while it seems like they throw a little asphalt in some of the potholes, but you know, the only nice street we have is Main Street, County Road Main, because that was the Main Street project. So let's take care of the streets we have before we start trying to take on more. I don't think the city, I'm not sure about this, but I don't think the city is responsible for streets and trailer parks. So if we're not responsible for those streets, then why are we wanting to annex streets in the ritzier districts? Seems to me like that would be discrimination. Why would we want to annex streets in subdivisions that are not fully developed yet? Every time somebody builds a house, that's going to require heavy equipment, which will tear up the streets. So let's not fix them too soon. The board has no plan for funding the NID or loggers, so don't take on more debt. And also, you're going to tell me that, well, the people, you know, in these other areas pay taxes. Well, so do we, and, you know, be nice to get some of our streets fixed first before you take on more. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on, old business, resolution 2016-60, city administrator's contract. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to put bill or resolution number 2016/60 by caption only. I'll second.
Motion by Alderman Walters to read resolution 2016-60, seconded by Alderman Rick Arnold. Roll call.
Alderman Wendy Arnold. Yes. Minkus.
Yes.
Shackelford.
Yes.
Marcus.
Yes.
Jeffers.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Rick Arnold.
Yes.
So moved. Resolution number 2016-60, a resolution of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Pevely, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into and execute a contract for the city administrator, excuse me, with Dickie Brown and incorporating said proposed contract as part of this ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
I'll make a motion we accept it as read.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Walters to accept as read on its first and final reading, seconded by Alderman Marcus. Roll call.
Alderman Rick Arnold.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Jeffers.
Yes.
Marcus.
Yes.
Shackelford.
Yes.
Minkus.
Yes.
Wendy Arnold. Yes.
So moved, thank you. All right, new business, resolution 2016-61. Any questions or comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion to put it on its first reading.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Alderman Walters to put resolution 2016-61 on its first reading.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Wendy Arnold. Roll call.
Alderman Wendy Arnold. Yes. Minkus.
Yes.
Shackelford.
Yes.
Marcus.
Yes.
Jeffers.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Rick Arnold.
Yes.
So moved. Resolution 2016-61, a resolution authorizing city employees compensatory time to carry over from calendar year 2016 to calendar year 2017.
Make a motion we approve resolution 2016/61 as read.
I'll make the second.
Motion by Alderman Minkus to approve on first and final reading, resolution 2016-61, seconded by Alderman Walters. Roll call.
Alderman Rick Arnold.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Jeffers.
Yes.
Marcus.
Yes.
Shackelford.
Yes.
Minkus.
Yes.
Wendy Arnold. Yes.
All right, so moved. All right, Mr. Jeffers, you have on here legal opinion?
Yes, I've got a couple legal questions that I want to clarify before I make a motion. Would you please put the questions and answers verbatim into the minutes? Sean, it's my understanding that the only one that can tell you what to do or ask for a legal opinion is the mayor, Mr. Dickey, and a recommendation by the alderman. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The second thing is, have you ever been asked by any of these three groups to form a legal opinion as to the legitimacy of the logger system?
No.
Did I say and you and your firm, just not you?
Can you repeat that?
Repeat your question for
Okay.
Amber.
My question is, have you ever had were ever requested by the board, the mayor, or Mr. Dickey to form a legal opinion as to the legality of the logger system without the vote of the people? Anyone in his office, anyone in your firm?
I can only speak for myself because I don't know whether or not Mr. Dugan has been requested to do that, but I have never had that requested of me.
Does anyone on the board remember anything that we had a legal opinion? Okay.
Mr. Dugan did look into that. He didn't give us a written opinion, but he gave us a verbal opinion on that. He did look into that.
How many,
From-
Mr. Jeffers, how many questions do you have? Do you have them written down so that you could supply the questions to
No,
the city
because the
attorney?
questions vary depending upon the answers.
Okay.
Okay. But that's pretty much there. So, Mr. Dickey is correct. Now, this doesn't have to be verbatim, but just those questions. Mr. Dickey's correct that he told me, I mean, if I'm wrong, correct me, but that the legal opinion you got on loggers was from loggers themselves?
Loggers gave us what they believe the law said. Tom's actually the one who looked at the law and said, in his opinion, that it did not require a vote of the people.
Loggers told you. So we're going on loggers' legal opinion?
No,
Actually, no,
Tom,
he just
Mr.
said Mr.
Dugan's.
Dugan.
Tom Dugan,
Okay, he did. Okay. Because, okay. Also, I would like to know whether, John, has anyone ever asked you for a legal opinion as to the legitimacy of taking funds out of water and sewer and putting them in NID?
Yes,
Okay, I thought that you never did that, no, did you? I mean, you confirmed to me and everybody that the opinion that Mr. Brown had would stand up as a legal document.
if you mean the opinion of the bond attorney that was written to Mr.
Yeah.
Brown, yeah, I believe that he will stand up as a legal
Yeah,
document. yes.
that I know, but I mean, but not, you didn't ever do anything on your own on it, right?
I was asked by Dickey prior to him obtaining the bond lawyer's opinion as to my understanding of the law. I gave him my brief summary understanding, and then he went and had it clarified by the bond attorney.
I'm gonna stop here on this. Mr. Jeffers, are you wanting to, is this more so of an inquisition to the city attorney, or are you asking for opinions? Because I think it would be best.
To form the basis of what I'm going to get to, that basically what I was trying to get to is that we're not losing our lawyer, because what I want to do is ask, I've got motions to ask to do something to pass by the board as to these legal issues.
Okay, I would think what, I appreciate that you're asking these questions, but I think that you would really, it would be best if you give a list of these questions to the city attorney so that he can correspond. Not all questions is he going to have an answer to. I mean, is this something, how many questions do you have in it? What is it referring to? So that this board understands where you're going here.
I'm just trying to get the background as to what's happened so far.
Okay.
Okay. And that's pretty much done with the questions. Now I start to preach it. I've read, I have another section from the Missouri State Constitution, Article 6, Local Government, Section 28A, August 28, 2014. Limitation of indebtedness of local governments without popular vote. Section 26, no county, city, incorporated town, village, school district, or other political corporations or subdivisions of the state shall become indebted in the amount exceeding any year's income and revenue provided for such year by any encumbered balance from previous years, except as otherwise noted in the Constitution. That's, to me, is pretty clear, and it says that that's why I was going to propose that we ask the lawyer for something, but I also have another one, okay?
Okay, just for future reference, if there's something that nobody here on this board has the paperwork here that you're discussing, or any of the information that you're talking about, so to make a motion and then expect for this board to second it and vote on it, we don't know what you're going by except for the piece of paper you're reading. So something like this, when you want to put something on the agenda like this.
All I will ask the board for is a request that the lawyer give us a legal opinion.
A legal opinion for what?
The thing-
This is what I'm saying. These gentlemen and ladies do not have the information that you're reading off of. So they have to just go by what you're reading. When you want to put something like this on the agenda, make sure that you have these copies ready for everybody to read over so they know exactly what it is you're going to be talking about so that they can make an informed decision that you're asking them. Because right now they're just listening to you reading, and whether they're comprehending it or not will be the
They
question.
don't have to comprehend. I mean, really, all I'm asking is, I'm trying to know why I'm asking this question and why I want a legal opinion read and this considered in it.
Okay.
Because that's basically on the loggers, and on the other one is the transfer of funds. Mr. Dickey has given me the legal opinion of Mark Grimm, and Sean has said it's a legal opinion, but, and so that it was supposedly that money could be transferred from City of Water and Water and Sewer and go to the NID fund. And it was a specific amount, and it was put in the budget. Now, they are going ahead and going back another year, and for some reason, it's increased even more for 17 than it was. And I would like a legal opinion, whether it's legal to go back the previous years and put them in for like 16, 17 and come up with it, other than the original budget item said like 97,000 and the other. And I'm proposing those amendments that we asked him for legal opinions on those subjects.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand. So you're wanting to make a motion that the city attorney supply us with a written opinion that it is okay to go back and replenish the general fund with the funds owed by the NID from water and sewer back to 2014.
And the loggers.
And a legal opinion.
On the loggers, based on additional information that came up, but that's why I was reading that.
Okay, go with the NID. He has a motion on the floor requesting that Dugan Law Firm, or Dugan Westhoff Law Firm, provide us with a legal opinion that it is okay to transfer the funds from water and sewer to replenish the general fund for the NID payments from 14 to 7. Do we have a second?
I would have thought we should have a discussion before.
Well, a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
We discussed it at the workshop.
Can I comment, one thing is background and why I'm thanking this, is we've got, the funds are break up into whatever number of funds we have, and they're kind of restricted and you can't use them. And then now we're beginning to wash that area and starting to take funds out of one and put it in the other.
Okay.
Doesn't he need
Let
to
me ask-
withdraw his
okay.
motion?
Let me ask you this. Why don't you rescind your motion? Now that the board somewhat has an idea of what you're wanting to discuss, we'll open it for discussion. You want to rescind your motion right now so that it can be opened for discussion with the board?
Point of order, I thought that you told me that there would be no discussions until the motion is passed.
I'm asking you, there is no second on the floor. Nobody has seconded your motion. So
Okay,
would
then
you
that's
like to rescind your motion so that we
I
can?
got what I wanted. I mean, there's,
Mr. Devers, what you're not understanding is that they don't understand what you're talking about. So they want to ask a few questions. So then maybe you will have a second once their questions are answered. So do you want to rescind your motion so that we can open the floor for discussion?
okay.
Okay, so he's going to rescind his motion. We are going to open the floor for discussion on Mr. Jeffers' proposed motion.
It's on the funds from water and sewer being transferred.
I'm having a hard time hearing you speak up.
We are going to discuss transferring money from water and sewer to replenish what should have been paid years before that wasn't, from water and sewer into general funds where it came from. For the NID. For the NID.
Now,
The percentages.
in consideration of that, we talked about it, and you said that, and but was that the intent? Because what happens to that money, okay, it doesn't end up going to the NID. It goes into general revenue and can be spent on salt spreaders, raises, anything else. And that's, I don't think is legal. That was my point there. I mean, I'm not saying that you're going back into history, but that may be right. You know, Mr. Shin says you can go back and make adjustments, but if that money's not going to end up in the NID, then you shouldn't get it out of there, just to balance the budget.
I'm going to touch on that really fast because I'm going to kind of go back to what Mrs. Kinnon just spoke about with street annexations and doing street repairs. Okay, one thing I think we're missing here is these funds were taken from the general fund to pay the NID payment. These funds should have come from the water and sewer fund. That was the appropriate fund for them to come out. However, instead of those funds coming out of the water and sewer to pay the NID payment, the city chose to take them out of the general fund. Basically what is happening now is the money that was taken out of the general fund to pay the NID, which should have come from the water and sewer, is what this board is proposing to put back where it belongs. So now, had those funds been in the general fund where they were supposed to be, and the water was used properly from water and sewer, questions like Mrs. Kinnon would have been answered that we should have already had some of those streets because we had the funds there. However, we didn't utilize them properly, which is something that you keep saying is that you want to make sure that the money is used from the proper fund.
That's
This is putting the money back where it should be.
That's why I want the legal opinion.
Okay, so what he's wanting is a legal opinion that we need to forward, or we can forward the funds from the water and sewer back to the general fund to replenish what was taken out.
Because these funds and all the other funds have restrictions on them. And you have to live with what they're doing. If we just put everything in general fund, I would have no argument. But we don't. Those funds are restricted for a purpose. And I think we're going around those, going money back to get them, and the money.
You just said it right there. Those funds are restricted for a purpose. The purpose is to utilize those funds for water and sewer. The NID was used for the infrastructure in water and sewer, so therefore this board is proposing to put that money back into the general fund because the money should not have come from the general fund. It should have come from the appropriate fund, which was water and sewer.
Okay, but you're still not catching it.
I'm catching it.
You're not
I'm
kidding.
saying that if we didn't do it, okay, now that money is coming out, well, it's not gonna be spent on it, is it?
It was already spent on NID.
No, it's not gonna be spent. The money we're taking out this month isn't gonna be spent all on it.
Absolutely correct. It's going back to the general fund where it should
And
have
it'll
been
be
from the
spent
beginning.
on something other than sewer and water, and I don't think that that's the legal intent of the thing.
Okay, Sean, you've got what he wants.
I understand.
Okay,
Madam Mayor, we discussed this at the workshop and everything else.
I agree. He's wanting a
Sean
legal
said
opinion.
already and everything else too.
Right, I know, but he's wanting a legal opinion. We've received the legal opinion, however, now you're wanting a written legal opinion?
That's what
Okay.
my first motion was.
So this is what his motion is. This is where we're at. Does everybody understand what he's asking?
Yep.
Okay, so, Mr. Jeffers, do you
I
want
make
to
a
make the
motion
motion?
that a legal opinion on NID, the payment, other than the exact, the year that we're in now, is legal.
We have a motion on the floor by Alderman Jeffers that he wants a written legal opinion from Dugan and Westhoff firm that it, yes, sir.
Yeah, can I make a suggestion?
Yes,
We have a bond attorney,
I know, which we do have the legal opinion on.
but that bond attorney is in a much better position to do a quick and easy response as opposed to having the Dugan and Westhoff law firm dig into bond law. You've got a bond attorney, Mr. Jeffers.
Okay.
I would
I
suggest
know
you
the
use it.
bond, and I went along with it when you were taking out 97 and for this year, because the money was actually going to go. When we asked the legal opinion of Grimm, okay, he did not, at that time, we weren't even proposing this.
No.
So that's the point. The money will not be spent on sewer and water projects that we're taking out of sewer and water.
Understood. I'm making the suggestion that rather than hiring me to do it, which will probably cost more than Grimm, who knows the insides and outs of your bonds, have Grimm write you the letter regarding the whether past payments can be taken from water and sewer and deposited into the general fund.
Well, I would rather have you do it, but it's not going to be,
I'm happy to do it. You're just going to cost us a much higher bill than you would if you had Grimm do it.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Mr. Jeffers has already started his motion on the floor that he is requesting that Dugan and Westhoff firm give him a legal opinion in writing that it is legal to replenish the funds from 2014, 15, and 16 into the general fund that were utilized. We have a second on the floor.
okay. Now, my second motion is, do we want to discuss it first? Or?
You might as
That
well
was
because they
the
need to
law
know.
and the Missouri State article that says what you have to do. And I know a lot of times, we talked about this before, is that, one law contradicts another, and that's why we need a lawyer. But that's why I'm trying to get a written legal opinion on that, because, and is there any questions, or before I make my motion?
Yeah. Has he contacted maybe Missouri Municipal League ever and talked to them about this stuff?
That's our
But
legal
that piece
help
of
right
paper-
there.
No, actually, as a elected official, you went to elected officials training,
Right.
they told you you can call the Missouri Municipal League and talk to them for their attorneys all the time for free. So why haven't you called and talked to them about this
Well,
stuff?
I also want to prove to the people out there that it was one way or another legal, and they won't get the benefit of that.
I thought Tom did did already told us that
Before we did it.
Yes, you did, and it is in the minutes.
Okay, but now I do not know if Tom Dugan took this article into consideration, and that's the reason I brought it up, so that it would be taken into consideration when the review is made.
Well, why don't you go and ask the attorneys or Dicky before you bring it all up and do all this stuff?
Why don't, I'm just making a motion. I mean, you
Investigate.
don't have to second it, you probably won't.
The
But it'll be on record that I
Madam
did.
Mayor,
Mr. Jeffers,
don't
so hold on,
investigate
hold on.
nothing before you do anything. You
Understand.
just bring all this
The
stuff up.
problem is that you're bringing something to this board, but nobody has been educated on what you're requesting. You're just blindsiding everybody with a piece of paper that none of us have read. We don't understand where you're coming from. That is what Dicky is for. If you bring that to Dicky, he could make a copy of that paperwork, supply the board members with it, and explain to them what it is that you're wanting to do. Then, when we put this on the agenda for everybody to listen to you, we know what it is that you're coming to us for. We can be prepared. The city attorney can be prepared. Dicky can be prepared. Then, when we have questions from the residents, we know what it is you're going to talk about. When you just put on here legal opinion, we have no idea what you're talking about unless you give us the information. The only way we can make an informed decision as a board is if we have the information you're wanting to supply to us to make a decision. So that's something you should have copied and given to Dicky, talked to Dicky about it, so then Dicky could have given it to us in our mailboxes. We could have read over it and we would have understood what it is you were asking tonight. Right now, nobody really has an idea what it is you're asking for because you just have a piece of paper that you read and you've not shared with any of us prior to tonight. Okay, you have to give us the information so that we know what it is we're going to be addressing that evening.
You know,
Okay.
Mr. Jeffers, I understand where you're coming from, except this is the same thing you bring up all the time, sir, is that you don't get the information soon enough.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Oh, you do?
I got the.
So this is kind of the same thing
Okay.
that you're doing to the rest of the board. You bring it all up tonight, and we don't have a clue because we didn't have the information.
Okay.
So it's just, it's kind of the
All
same.
my motion, I think.
You know, you understand, Mr. Jeffers, what I'm saying? It's kind of the same
Yeah, that makes
thing.
sense. That all makes sense.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so we're gonna hold off on this until everybody gets an understanding, get with Dicky, give him the information, and then it can be presented to us at the next meeting, and then we can go forward with that.
Okay.
Okay? All right, good deal. All right, on to budget amendment discussion. Mr. Brown.
First of all, for the public, we got these late today, so there'll be copies available tomorrow. Not only the 2016 budget amendment, but also the draft 2017 budget will be available also. And any questions about these documents, I'm going to defer to our accountant.
Okay.
Okay, if you look at the, let's do the 2016 budget amendment first. If you look at, if you look under administration, you can see under estimated revenue, it says 2016 estimated $2,787,250. That's up $307,625 from what was budgeted. But I went to address, I guess, the issue that came up just earlier. If you flip 2 pages back, you could, I basically have done the line items that we're going to be in. And you'll see a line item on there under revenue that says transfer from water and sewer, 318,825. Those were the balances from 2014 and 2015. That would be transferred over. Do you guys see that? There's a sheet right here that has, it's a third sheet back. Okay. But, so that's why that number is greater. Now, some of our other revenue for the year, you can see up above that, we're coming in a little bit under budget, like sales tax, gross receipts, fees. Court fines, the very top, you can see they're coming in $65,000 under what was budgeted. Then you come down to the bottom under the admin. Our expenses, we'll go back to that summary sheet in the very first page. You can see our total expenditures are $3,129,433. Our original budget was $3,143,283. for a difference of $13,850. Overall, that's not too bad, considering that we spent $133,610 for lots in Southern Heights, and there was another purchase in there of real estate that we didn't have budgeted this year, so that was $133,000. We also had budgeted $50,000 coming from going to the NID that is now at zero based on our conversation from the other day at the workshop. But anyway, those are the categories that are being looked at to be amended. I didn't go through every line item. We had some little ups, some little downs. I didn't go through everything. I just tried to pick the major stuff. You go down to City Transportation Fund, you can see it looks like we're going to be $91,832 revenue over expenditures. Go back to your summary page, I'm sorry. You can see that the original budget was $72,633, so we're going to have a positive $19,000 there. The County Road Improvement Fund is almost exactly what we had budgeted it. If you go to the NID, we originally budgeted a loss of $144,999. That was because we had cash reserves sitting there to start this year. But when we're looking at this and trying to make the year balance on itself, we've increased our transfer number coming in on NID to get our revenue to $543,584. In December, we have already received $140,000 in NID fees. So we think that $140,000 with the $106,000 we had already, we're at $246,000, plus we had brought in $35,000 extra when we sold those lots. So we're at about we're going to be at about $275,000 this year. So I upped next year's budget to $240. It had been down at $160,000. That's why it was such a large transfer that was going to take, but I bumped that number up based off of what we're doing, we've done so far in December. We'll probably get one more payment in from the county probably, I'm guessing next week. The one payment we got today, the $140,000 was today. So, or $104,000, excuse me. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that those fees are coming in. We're still not back to where we were a couple of years ago at like $315, but even back there when we were at $315,000, we needed to transfer money in because our debt service payments are well over $500,000. So and the reason we didn't have to transfer money in so much in 2014 was because we had all the money coming in. We had all the money coming in from those lines of credits from the developers. And I understand we have one more of those, but we haven't done any with it. That's why those numbers have increased. And if you look at the new budget we'll get to here in a second that I handed out, the new proposed 2017 budget, those transfer numbers are really consistent between 2015, 2016, 2017. It all depends on where you want to take them from, okay? The City Hall Fund is running about what we had.
Question?
Yes.
The original worksheet that we had originally said that water we would be getting from water about 68,000 and 77,000 from this water and sewer. I thought that would go down with what you said, but yet it went up to 118 and 150. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, 150.
Because
why are those numbers going up that much?
Because what was discussed at the work session the other night was to recapture the infrastructure cost of water and sewer. So we moved it out. We moved it out of the general fund for the current year, 2016, to take it, and that was just based off the discussion of the council the other night.
So 118 in the rise amendment on water.
Yeah, the current year, 118, 152, and 150, 375 for sewer.
Are we talking about the amendment one right now?
Yes, sir.
And the numbers that we were told it was going to be were 68. Is that the right one? Water. or it would be 68,000, now it's 118.
That was based off discussion from Thursday, not this past Thursday.
This was, we discussed this at the workshop. Whenever he gave you those totals, that was when we originally were just discussing 16. We discussed doing all of them. So these are the amended dollar amounts.
So, okay, for these that are being transferred in now, on 16 included 14 and 15.
Sir, look on the water expenses. You'll see a line that says transfer to general fund, and you'll see a line that says transfer to NID. The transfer to general fund is that 142.83 number. And that's the number to catch up the water fund's percentage of
Not 1 year.
14 and 15. Hang on, 14 and 15. The transfer to NID for the current year, 16, is that $118,000 number.
So you get your two totals here.
And then down under sewer, you'll see the same thing. You'll see a transfer to general fund, and then you'll see a transfer to NID. Your question on why did the transfer to NID numbers increase, that was due to saying that we were going to recapture the infrastructure cost of water and sewer and it isn't for all payments, it's only for the times that we've had to transfer funds over above and beyond what we collected in NID fees. It's not the full payment.
And it's at these percentages that we were originally told, like 14 and 16?
Yes. But what it was, well, to go back to that, part of it was taken out, part of it was originally under general fund until we had that discussion Thursday night. And then it was like, it was decided that we were going to recapture infrastructure costs first. And that's what we.
And that, okay, transferred to the general fund for 16, that money, okay, that 140,000 is going into the general fund with no restrictions.
Because the general fund paid it out for the water and sewer. If we're using this mentality for the current year we're in,
I
then
understand
you're
that,
using
but
it.
I'm also saying that's a figure I'm saying was it legal or not? That's what I'm talking about. I mean, because all of our funds are restricted. I mean, other than the general fund. And, okay, thank you.
Anyway, when you go through there and, so let's go county road improvement, we went through that, we went through the NID, city hall, water fund, it's down, it's at 68,579. Again, part of that reason is the transfer of the NID. We came in under expenditures on some other things, but because of that transfer, and then the same way with the sewer, we had budgeted 584,500 and we're at 454,000 is what the estimate is. So that's what the budget amendment is looking. If we don't pass this tonight, I'll take November's financials and between now and your next meeting, whenever that is, to amend this, to try to pull these numbers tighter, to get a better number we're gonna see.
So how much money are we taking out of water and sewer to balance the budget and to get the funds back that you say we owe because it wasn't, we didn't move before? What's the total for the 2 years?
If you add these numbers, these four numbers, that's what's coming out of the water and sewer and going into general fund.
For 14, 15,
Okay,
16.
and then on top of that, there'd be some coming out of transfer to, no, it is. Okay, so it'd be 140, 178 is going into general revenue, no strings attached.
From sewer.
Because
I
of
think that's
what you said, okay.
Yeah.
It's a balanced budget.
Well, this is the 16 budget. I think what you're trying to get at is
Yeah.
the
And then we'll do
17
the same
budget.
thing in 17.
Yes.
So what's the total between 16 and 17?
Well, let's work on 16. Right now, we're just talking about the amending the budget for 16. We're not on 17 yet, okay? Yes.
These money being transferred, it keeps using to balance the budget. It is not to balance the budget. That money is not used to balance the budget. It is money owed to general fund. It's not to balance anything. And that's why I don't understand you keep using the term balance the budget. Even in 2017, it isn't money used to balance the budget. It is money that was spent out of general fund that should have been spent out of water and sewer in the first place.
And we didn't do it.
You didn't do it.
So
So,
I'm saying that that's lost to us.
it's not,
Okay, now,
it's just like the analogy I used before is, I'm gonna buy a house, okay? I pay for that house out of my pocket. I do all the improvements. I go to the bank and they give me the money I spend. I reimburse my checking account. I do not have a gain. And that's exactly what you keep bringing up, that general fund is getting a gain. I am making myself whole again. That's all I'm doing. This is not balancing anybody's budget on this.
well, I think that maybe that's why I asked for the legal opinion, because I don't think that it's making it whole, because the money is not restricted when you give it.
It shouldn't be restricted. General fund money is not restricted, so you're just
Water and
replenishing
sewer
it.
money, you told me, okay, your analogy, I put money away for my kids to go to college, 529 money,
Right.
okay? Well, then my son decides that he's gonna buy a car, okay? But, so he can drive him to high school so he can get the grades to go to the other. That money was supposed to go for education, it went for the car. That's
Completely
not fair.
different analogy.
No,
Yeah,
that's the
completely
way-
different analogy.
Okay.
Okay, great, go ahead.
We're done. Sorry. Thank you.
Done?
That's pretty much it.
Okay. Any other questions on the amendment for 2016? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed amended items. Motion by Alderman Minkus to approve the amended 2016 budget, seconded by Alderman Rick Arnold. Roll call, please.
Alderman Wendy Arnold.
Yes.
Minkus.
Yes.
Shackelford.
Yes.
Marcus.
Yes.
Jeffers.
No.
Walters.
Yes.
Rick Arnold.
Yes.
So moved. All right, on to the 2017 budget. Vicki Gray, you have the floor.
Okay, that's what I'm okay, again, based off of what we talked about the other night, there was some, like 4 main things that I got before I had to leave. The first one, you might as well just hit it right off the bat, was the current year transfer for the NID is, when I redid this, it's gonna be about $263,000. That is divided up between water and sewer, $116,072 on water, and on sewer, it's $147,728. I went back and looked at 14 through the current year at the amount of money that we're going to be transferring between these two budgets. Our total infrastructure cost for water and sewer were $1.4 billion. 44% of that was water, 56% of that was sewer. So each year I've allocated out those transfers from each of those funds. Including in the 2017 transfer, as of the end of 2017, we'll be sitting there with costs that has not been paid for our water and sewer of $259,174. We have water is $259,174 would be their balance, and $318,821 for a total of $577,000. Now, what we have to understand is, down the road, we end up with excess money in the NID. You can vote, just like you're voting here. You can vote to take those funds, and because the NID was supposed to try to cover itself, and since the NID is not covering itself, and what we were told was about the revenues, available revenues of the city, no, based off of what it was spent for. So those overages, if we end up starting to get those back, if we sell those lots, whatever, you could look then at transferring those monies back to those funds too, because if that is the case. The second thing was the equipment and cars in the police department. I put in their lease proceeds equal to Tony's capital improvements of $117,000, $117,600, or I think it's $117,000. I also divided that number by 3, and that's what I added on to the debt service payment for that. Because my understanding was, if we bought 3 cars, along with the equipment, he would turn around and he would want to pay it off in 3 years. I'm assuming that there's no interest on that technically, but I'm assuming we're not gonna get it done right off the bat. So our payment for the first year is gonna be less than that $39,000. So we technically have interest built in there. The other thing was there was a line item, operations and maintenance in the police budget. It was at $45,000. Tony and I talked about it on Thursday night. I took that number back down to $25,000. That's what he's been averaging, or the police department was averaging over the past 3 years. The other thing was the employee deductibles. I left the 3% raise in there because my understanding when I left was we would do the raise, and if we weren't going to do deductible, we had to leave the raises. So I took that deductible off of there. That gets us to $800 to the positive on the summary sheet. So if you look at the very top sheet here, you'll see under general fund, we're at $800 revenue over expenses.
So we have a proposed 2017 balanced budget.
Yes. Oh, there was one other thing. I looked at sales tax because sales tax was a big variance. I averaged out 3 years to get that number. I went back and looked at the last 3 years and took an average of 3, and I raised that number up some. So I tried to be consistent with it. I took it to, we have been at 890, 910. We're looking at 840 right now. But sales tax has been, on most cities I've worked with, it's been on the rise. People more tend to buy local, you know. So I took it to 880. I think that number was like at 840 or 860, and I took it to 880. But I took a 3-year average on that number.
Yeah, everything else Save Lots, and that should, I mean, I'm sure, I heard us when Queens went out.
Right.
And with Save Lot in there, and I've only been there a couple times, but it seems to be doing quite well.
Russ and I went in the very first day it was open, and it was busy. It was nice to see.
But that's a plus for the city.
Yeah.
On the first page, water fund operations, is the money that's coming out of it included in that? Is that why it went up so much?
Yes.
Okay.
Same with sewer.
And yeah, sewer too. Those are the amounts from one year to the next. Okay.
Any other questions or comments for Greg or Vicki on the proposed 2017 budget?
Yeah, I have a question for you. So you're saying that you took the pay raises out,
No,
or you gave them the pay raises, but you took the health insurance part out?
The deductible, and that was my understanding the other night. If I'm wrong, I can, but it's up to you guys what you want to do. But I took the deductible out, but left the 3% raise.
So we're no longer going to give them $1,500?
Up to 15.
Right. It was budgeted in at $1,500 per individual. So that is being taken out. So if you approve this budget, then yes, it would be taking that away.
Now, if the budget would come in, you're always allowed to amend the budget at any time during the year. So if the budget is, if you see revenue coming in, we're doing better, you can put things back into a budget, once you're going down the road. And I try to budget revenue conservatively, and then if it's better than that, then that's great.
And one question as to, we have a street and transportation, why aren't we stealing money out of there to pay for it in too, so we wouldn't have to put as much in general revenue? Why do we do it in city and water and not in streets?
The streets aren't technically ours yet until the subdivision has been completed to the standards that it's supposed to be set so that we adopt the streets. So at this point, the infrastructure was paid for water, sewer, and everything else that was considered general fund. Until those streets are dedicated to the city, they're not ours.
But we paid for them, right? And that part of the bond is going, that's what, you got 30% of water and sewer. So the streets are something over and above that we paid. We're paying bonds on those, whether they belong to us or not. I mean, if you're going to take our water, why didn't you take some from the street and get them on Is it because they didn't have such a big,
The streets are not ours, they're not dedicated to ours, so you wanna talk about the legalities of taking money from the appropriate funds, there's a legality
oh,
there.
there's legalities against taking money from funds. Okay.
Okay, all right. Anything else?
So, everything else on the wish list stay?
I don't have the wish list in front of me.
Well, like software.
Oh, no, that came, I'm sorry, that came off.
I think the,
Go ahead, Jimmy.
the only thing that was left in was the meeting software, that was left in. But, the work order software, I believe we can find money in the program areas for that.
Okay. So, and then in the police department, we left the 117.6 in it, right? Okay.
Anybody else? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the proposed 2017 budget.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Minkus to approve the proposed 2017 budget, seconded by, Alderman Rick Arnold. Roll call, please.
Alderman Rick Arnold.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Jeffers.
No.
Marcus.
Yes.
Shackelford.
Yes.
Minkus.
Yes.
Wendy Arnold.
Yes. So moved, thank you. All right, requisition form for the salt spreader, Mr. Brown?
All right, let me start out by clarifying something. Stuff for streets, Department of Street Function, is paid for out of city transportation, not general funds. There's a funding source for that. This is being funded out of city transportation fund. The money's there. This is a small spreader, goes in our small one-ton truck, get into some of our smaller areas. The old one just died. Jesse got 3 bids. This is the cheapest of the 3 bids.
Any questions? Otherwise,
I'll make a motion. Aye.
Got a motion by Alderman Walters to approve requisition form for the salt spreader in the amount of $5,425. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Wendy Arnold. Roll call, please.
Alderman Wendy Arnold.
Yes.
Minkus.
Yes.
Shackelford.
Yes.
Marcus.
Yes.
Jeffers.
No.
Walters.
Yes.
Rick Arnold.
Yes.
So moved.
So you don't want your salt removed?
All right, tourism ordinance, Alderman Marcus.
The tourism ordinance, we've been working on that, had a couple meetings, everything else too. Want to try and get something written up so we can use it. I talked to Sean and everything else too. He's going to kind of put it more in English of what we really need to look for. So I wanted to change it, but he said we can't change it, but he's going to give us better definition. Is that true, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sean?
Mr. Sean, yes, sir.
Okay.
Hold on. Tourism. Section 67.1364.1 of the Missouri Revised Statutes binds the city's ability to alter or change its ordinance in any way. Essentially, what this statute requires is that the members of the Tourism Commission shall all be residents of the city or county in which the commission's created. So we're locked in with having citizens of Pevely. That's the first thing. Second, as far as the members go, it's to be 5 of them. And 2 are active in the tourism industry. 1 active in the hotel and motel industry, and the rest could be just members of the local general business interests in the city. That is open to almost anyone. The remaining members are open to almost anything. It's only the requirement that we have 1 in the motel industry and 2 in tourism that seems to be giving us some problem. I cannot think of a way of expanding your definition to take them out without having, or I guess expand the definition to allow different types of people in there without actually having seen maybe a resume of somebody. I'm not at all opposed to saying that somebody in the hotel or motel industry, I mean, that's a broad definition, that can be almost anything. Down from, I would argue, down from a maid who changes the rooms up to the, manager of the hotel. As far as the tourism industry goes, there to be active in tourism industry, I don't know if we've got anybody in the city who does tourism in any way, shape, or form.
What is the tourism industry? What do they consider tourism industry?
Travel agency?
I would argue you could put a travel agent into the tourism industry.
So as Don had discussed a while back and everything else too, is say a hotel would hire somebody as a consultant, whatever, he is part of the hotel industry?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we've got funds, we've got a tax against the hotels and motels in the city.
Right, because that money could be used with billboards up at the racetrack, it could be used for.
Could be used for any number of things if we could get a commission together so we could
Right.
actually make some plans.
The fall festival, different things.
Yeah.
Can we get something from Festus? The tourism thing, I don't know what they would have, probably could have somebody from travel thing.
That's all those places
We
they
got the
have.
bus, Huskies and Crystal.
They have both, 2 offices now.
Yeah.
So, and then you've got all the hotels.
Can we just find out
and
what they use, or what they consider as tourism in there? Everybody from the hotel industry is interested.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine, we can make a phone call and find out who they've got on their board and why they think they're
Yeah, why,
qualified.
they did what they,
Yep. Let's consult with them, Festus, and see what they've got, Dickie, and we'll kind of go from there. Put it back on the agenda for the next meeting and talk about what we have.
That's fine.
Okay.
I just want to get something going because we need to.
Correct me if I'm wrong, we did put an ad out in paper for this also, did we not?
no responses, was there?
There was 2 or 3, I think, Dickie?
What's that?
Responses, two responses, or 2
To
or 3?
the ad.
Mrs. Kinnon,
Responses to the ad for tourism commission.
None.
None, yeah.
None.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we'll put that back on and bring back the information at the next meeting. And, all right, Alderman Marcus, street annexations.
All right, we've discussed this up and down, everything else too, and if somebody would have looked in Landmark Manor, they would have seen that the city did repair streets that they do own in the mobile home parks. We've had them for years, we've had mobile home parks for years. Every one of them, the streets are ours for years. The thing is too, is in Southern Heights, you had a bankruptcy over that way. In the Vineyards, you had a bankruptcy when they were first in there years ago. Hunter's Glen is building out right and everything else too. And we've had we've had Kenny here stating that it would be our benefit to take over the streets and everything else because we can control them better with stop signs and with parking signs and everything else too. The Vineyards is almost built out. Hunter's Glen is doing pretty good. Southern Heights, I believe we need to take those streets over because if we don't, one of these times when we do, they're not going to be worth taking over. And if we got control over them now, we can at least keep them under control and keep the streets up to our standards, everything else too. So I would like to have Sean do an ordinance for each subdivision and do it individually that we take these streets over.
Diggy, sorry.
That's fine.
Have we looked back to see what percentage we are at within these subdivisions? I mean, are we close to the percentages that we need in order to get to the annexation, or to the acceptance on these streets?
The only one I can speak definitively back to be Southern Heights. They're not quite, they're not even close to 8%. The other divisions, subdivisions, I'll have to check on that.
Okay. If we could get the percentages, so then we know where we're at, as far as, where we need to be, where we're at, as far as the percentages, so that we can know if we're close to the ordinance, or if that's something that we indeed do need to change with Mr. Westhoff.
Well,
Yes.
Is there any disadvantage for a subdivision? Okay, the Vineyard, I live in there, and they've got the right number, but they haven't asked, come into the Is there any reason that they wouldn't do it or something? Like, they're legally probably, I think they're at the percentage that you're talking about. You can come to the board and get it approved, and legally it's all met, but for some reason they haven't. Is there some reason that they're not in this situation?
Madam Mayor, if Mike, we have a citizen out here, probably speak on that, is that okay?
Do we have a trustee?
No, he's not trustee, but Mike lives in the subdivision.
Mr. Jeffers, I have talked to the alderman about that. You live there, you ought to know what the percentage is. We're at about 32 or 33% right now, if you do the
Okay.
count.
The percentage, I don't know. The procedure, the way I read the subdivision things, though that association has to petition the city.
That is not true.
Well, that's what
Well,
it says.
first of all, we
that's what
don't
it says
have an
in the-
association there. We have three trustees, which are not really legal, okay? According to the indentures.
Those are the ones that
Okay, so
according to the-
right now, we have to depend on the alderman, which you are one, to work for us,
To-
okay?
Can I talk with you after the thing? Because
No,
I don't know
you
what want.
can.
Thank you.
I've already got my mind set up how it's
Okay,
going
because,
to
we have a difference of opinion, but.
be. We always do.
Madam Mayor, also too, as I said, those constituents over there pay taxes and everything else, just like everybody else, so they should be getting the same services, which they do. We salt the streets, we got the street lights over there and everything else too, we take care of everything. And as one past alderman said, we shouldn't maybe even not be plowing those streets because they're not in the city limits yet, so.
Okay.
And Sean, on that, the percentage, is that set by the city?
Typically, it's set by whatever plan was put together when you put the subdivision together. They said, at a certain percentage, that at that point, we'll dedicate the streets to the city, and that'll be the end of it.
Well, I just know I have a subdivision out west, what do I do? That they took streets in, we didn't have a blasted building on there. And, I know Mrs. Karen said something about, the trucks rolling in, we built there, we have no damage whatsoever, the streets were put in properly, which they should have been. That shouldn't make any difference.
Well, the thing is, we can still keep the percent if we just do a ordinance for specific subdivisions. We don't have to take everything and you just do a specific ordinance, that's all you gotta do. Because City of Arnold, they've done that plenty of times, other cities have done that too, that's why I bring it up.
The only thing that concerns me with Southern Heights is that we don't do anything, and I think Steve mentioned this, these streets are gonna deteriorate so much, it's gonna look like a small town down by DeSoto that, they no more have a government or anything, it's just completely, it kind of be a blighted area if we don't do something.
Basically being proactive to make sure that the streets aren't deteriorated before we take them over, and then we have to
Right.
spend a lot of money to repair them.
I've never taken it at all, and
Yeah.
it looked horrible.
Thank you, that's all I have.
All right, November AP report.
That's just informational.
Okay, no questions? All right, November financial statement, no questions, any questions, discussion?
The $335,000 short in the general revenue fund as of November, right?
So what are you asking?
Well, I know at the end of the year, we'll probably still have less revenue than we have expenditures. That 100,000, let's say it's 100,000, because I think we talked about that figure at the end of December. What happens to that 100,000? Does that not show up in the budget, next year's budget at all?
No, that is a use of your fund balance.
Okay, it's just like a checkbook balance.
Yeah, so
Okay, we owe the money.
you had reserves.
We're that much behind in general revenue, but it won't show up in the budget. Is that right?
Well, it does show for the budget because it's an actual number. It will compare back to your budget number. But you amended your budget, now it will change with the amendment that you passed for 2016. But it isn't a number where because if you budget it again, you'd be budgeting that expense twice.
I'm not worried about budget at all, I'm worried about actual money,
No, it shows, just like it showed here for actual today, before we did the budget amendment. Plus, as I told you, we have, you received about $316,000 in property tax money so far in December. You'll receive another chunk, and plus you'll receive sales tax and those things above and beyond what your expenditures are. So it will eat that number down quite a bit. I'm not quite sure exactly where without the amended budget.
I'm not worried about the amount, it's gonna be there. I'm just worried about, probably, because it only went down 15,000 in November from October. But we said it was going down more, the revenue's coming in. I'm just wondering how we financially handle being short $100,000 at the end of the year, revenue over expenditures in the general revenue. Just reduce the bank account?
It comes out again. It's already reduced it as it's been taken out, but yeah, eventually it does reduce your fund balance at the end of the year.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, court report? Nope. All right, Alderman Jeffers. Your comment time.
Thank you all for coming. To me, I think the budgeting process didn't consider everything that it should have. We're going down a road, spending money, and the only place we have to do is get it. We're lucky we got water and sewer. Because if we didn't, we would have to cut people or something, because everything keeps going up. Loggers, you want a revenue increase, pay increase that'll amount to about $2,000 a person, charges against it. That figure also in the 75,000 includes loggers that are already in there. But, so it's the charges to the city that'll be that much. So that's, another 75,000, things that we can't control as to, what were the things? Health insurance increase, that's going up. Workers' comp going up. Loggers is going up. First year we had loggers, the city was indebted to its employees for $6,000. Last year, it was indebted to them for $7,000. What will it be this year? I'm not worried so much about that, but we were maxed out on all of our taxes. The only place we can get extra money is water and sewer. Without a vote of the people. If we don't do something now to control our costs, it'll be things that we have to do later that are much more extreme than cutting something now. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Marcus.
It's a shame we discuss this and discuss this and discuss this, and the thing is we use general fund money to pay for the NID. Now we want to put it back, and somebody says, well, we got to use it for this and that, and the numbers sometimes I don't know where the hell these numbers from. That's all I have to say.
Nope.
No.
Alderman Walters.
I have nothing at this time.
Alderman Shackelford.
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Minkus.
Yeah, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a safe New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Greg Shin, for doing such a good job and spending a lot of time for the city. And thank everybody for coming. That's all I have.
Thank you. Alderman Wendy Arnold. Deputy Trey.
Real quick, on a positive note, if there's one to be found for Friday's weather events, we had Corporal Brian Benjamin and Officer Tim Shealy and our new officer, Christy Penfield, on duty Friday night. Chief Dispatcher Dreameyer had to stay 6 hours late for an 18-hour shift. Officer Dean Rogers was going to the Christmas party. When it was canceled, he came and stopped by the police department to see if he could help out in any way, and he did. And between the four of them, with all the calls they handled on the streets, they handled over 200 911 calls and approximately 100 calls on a non-emergency line in a 9-hour period. I went in there, I was with them all night long, and they handled themselves incredibly professionally, and they put in a hard work. So I want to give them a pat on the back for the work they did Friday night in the midst of the mass chaos.
Mr. Brown? Nothing? Okay. I have a couple of things I did receive in the mail today. A request from the National School Choice Week. They are requesting that we do a proclamation to make the a City of Pevely School Choice Week, January 22nd through the January the 28th. Basically, it's held every January. The National School Choice Week shines a spotlight on effective education options for children, including traditional public schools, public charters, private schools, and homeschooling. It affects approximately 20,000 independently planned events across the United States. So I just wanted to let everybody know that I will be requesting the city administrator and city clerk and also city attorney to get this proclamation scheduled for the next board meeting so that we can present it to Dublin School. Also, I did want to thank not only the police department, but the street workers for doing a great job. It kind of came upon us. We didn't realize that it was going to be as bad as it ended up being, and I think they did a great job. They also did assist to getting the traffic flowing better to help the police department from having to respond to so many different accidents and stuff. Also, on 55 and 61, 67, I mean, they did a lot of hard work, and I appreciate that. Also, I do want to thank the board members for doing their due diligence and working with Greg and Dickie and the attorney, and also Amber and the captain for educating themselves on what the budget process is and getting with them on the figures. And everybody did work with departments, and I appreciate all of your cooperation and learning and understanding how the things needed to take place and how the business works. So that's all I had to say, and this time I will take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Alderman Minkus, is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Walters. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Have a good night.
Would you happen to have the current budget is? I'll put it on you.